we've got our components that we needed, so let's try and get some of this put together. So first of all, we could use our #1 screws. Just going to move the motor assembly out of the way a second, because we're going to get to that in a moment. So put that there, a top tray and servo, etc. We'll get to that in a moment. So it gives us a bit more room. Now, we need some #1 screws. So quite tiny little things. So a couple of those, because let's start on the back where the cross beam fits into the chassis. And you can now see why you needed the 3 holes, because you've got to collect the holes either side, and you've got to line up in here in the center, so that lines up. Okay, and you've got to get this the right way round. I'm just looking at the drawing, this hollow section is facing upwards. Okay, so a couple of screws. And there we go, there's one. Just fit them in loosely first of all, and then you can nip them up. Okay, so like that, and then nip them up. Just use your fingertips. If you see here, I'm just using my fingertips to turn this so it doesn't turn too much. Okay, so it sits like that, and we've got to do the same again on the other side. So a couple of more of these little #1 screws. Line that up. And here we go again. So got this couple of these in here ready for myself. Look, and then hold it in place, and then screw that closed. And then once you get it somewhere near, again, just using your fingertips only, so you don't over screw this. And there we are. And then we're going to just turn this so that it's straight. The idea is straight. Okay, and then nip them up. Okay, like that. Now we've got to do the same with the center. So the next thing we do is take our gearbox shell, and I think the drawing is trying to get you to line up the gearbox shell. Okay, so it points to this notch here, which is this notch here, and it points to this hole here, which is this hole here. And the idea is you line up those 2 holes, and then the other 2 holes like that, and then the same again, so it's symmetrical on the other side on the gear frame. Ooh. And I think that's what we're looking to line up, so that's what we're making sure. Yeah, that's it, there we are, like that. See, so I've lined up on the gearbox shell here, and then these 2 line up. Okay, so again, using our #1 screws. So put my #1 screw on each corner of the gearbox shell, and the same again on the other side of the chassis. And so it's a case of now screwing these so that they're home. Same principle, just don't go mad. So just screw them up with your fingertips, and you are just literally using your fingertips to get them fingertip tight. And a nip there, and I kind of go cross fashion, just so that it's kind of there. And again, just using my fingertips only, so they're fingertip tight, and a quarter turn. Okay, like that. And then we need to do the same again, but this time we need to do this with our, I'm going to call it the steering gear tray, because it's where the servo mounts. So again, lining this up and lining up the hole at the front with the marked fixing, and then you just again line up both sides of the chassis. Okay, so you can see that hole there and that hole there, there and there. Quite straightforward. Number one screws again. So now we've got the front steering tray in. It's a case of screw these again. Now there you can see this here, number one here, number one here, number one here, and number one here. And again, like you did this with the others, hit them up in a cross fashion if you can. But again, just finger tight. Don't have to go too mad. Right, so that's that. Now we've got to put our servo in. So our servo, make sure you get the orientation correct. So you need to make sure this bit is here, like that. And I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up. There's this notched out area here. And it literally is a case of push the servo in. Okay, I have neutralized the servo already. And now we've got that. This is where this little tray comes in. So you sort of kind of push this in place and think that you put the steering cover over the top and you're done. Well, no, you do need to put this one in. And this, believe it or not, though it doesn't say on the drawing, is actually the cover that goes over your steering servo, like that. And then you put two screws in here. Now, not quite sure which screws they are, but I'm going to opt for these ones were the number 3s, as I guess. They're the ones that were 10 millimeters long, 2.3 by 10 millimeters long. I think that's what we need to put in here. Let's try it. Feels good. Yeah, I think we're right. Yeah, I'm going to go with those. They seem to fit right. They go through and they fit on and they collect the hole and they engage and tighten up nicely. Again, not too mad. Just finger tight and a quarter turn on this one the most. There we go. So that's now the steering servo in place. Now we've got to put the motor in. The motor, get the orientation correct, motor facing that way. This just slips into place like that. And there's a locating here and here. I think you got to use a number 1 screw. Just going by my judgment here. It doesn't say to put them in, but I can't see you wanted to leave them loose because I can't see that would anything go over the top. So as I've got them, just gonna pop down in there the number 1 screws. And there you go. Yeah, definitely the number 1 screws. And I'll pop one in there loosely for now. Take on my next one. And then, yeah, there we are. And again, do these up using your fingertips only. Yeah, 1/8 of a turn and 1/8 of a turn. that's better. I think that's better. There you go. So that's now in. So, yeah, a couple of number 1 screws to hold your motor and gearbox assembly into the gearbox shell. So there we are. So that's effectively this first step completed. It kind of looks like that. So quite nice. Right, we should now move on. Axles. We've got to do front and rear axles.